Admiral Kethvar stood before the massive viewing screen of his flagship, watching the blue planet called Earth spin slowly in the darkness of space. His forearms crossed behind his back as his black eyes studied the world below. The thick plates of natural armor covering his body clicked softly as he moved. "Such a beautiful world," he said to his second-in-command. "And ruled by such weak creatures." Commander Yixtal nodded, his own armored head bobbing up and down. "The data confirms it. Admiral, these humans are soft-skinned and fragile. They have no natural armor like us, no ability to regrow lost body parts like the Vorthak. They cannot breathe poison gas like the Methites. They do not share thoughts like the Nexari." Kethvar pulled up the reports on his command tablet. His scientists had been studying human broadcasts for months. They had watched movies, read medical files, and analyzed everything they could find about these strange pink creatures. "Look at this," he said, pointing to images of humans in hospitals. "They get sick from tiny bacteria. A simple cut can kill them if not treated. They break bones from falling short distances. They cannot even survive in their own oceans without machines to help them breathe." The data seemed clear. Humans were the weakest species the Zelkari Empire had ever found. They lived on a death world full of dangerous animals and weather. But somehow they had survived. The Zelkari scientists thought it was just luck. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "we are receiving more human broadcasts." "Show me," Kethvar ordered. The screen filled with images of human soldiers fighting each other in places called Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. The admiral watched as these humans shot at each other with primitive weapons. He saw them get hurt and fall down. Many of them cried. Some begged for help. "See?" Yixtal said. "They fight their own kind. They show fear. They break under pressure. This will be the easiest conquest in our history." Down on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen was working late in her laboratory. She had spent 15 years as a combat medic before becoming a scientist. Her hands, which had once stopped bleeding on battlefields, now worked carefully with sensitive equipment. She had been the first to detect the alien signals 3 weeks ago. Since then, she had barely slept. The government had formed something called the United Defense Council, but most people still did not know aliens were watching them. "Dr. Chen," her assistant called out, "the signals are getting stronger." Sarah looked at her computer screens. The alien ships were getting closer to Earth. She could see at least 50 large vessels moving into orbit around the moon. Her military training told her this was not a science mission. "Get me Colonel Rodriguez on the secure line," she said. Miles away, Colonel Marcus Rodriguez was helping veterans at his rehabilitation center. Most people called him Ghost because of his ability to disappear and appear without being seen during his sniper days in the Marines. The center was full of soldiers who had come back from wars broken in different ways. Some had lost arms or legs. Others had minds that would not stop remembering the terrible things they had seen. The world thought these men and women were finished as fighters. Rodriguez knew better. "Colonel," said Maria Santos, a former staff sergeant who now helped run the center. "Dr. Chen is on line 1. She says it's urgent." Rodriguez picked up the phone. He had known Sarah since she had saved his life in Iraq 12 years ago. She did not call unless something big was happening. "Ghost, we have a problem," Sarah said without saying hello. "The aliens are here. And from what I can tell from their signals, they think we are easy prey." Rodriguez looked out the window at his veterans. Tommy Washington was teaching a new arrival how to use robotic legs. Lisa Park was helping a young soldier deal with nightmares. These were people who had been to hell and back. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Maybe hours. They just broadcast a message demanding surrender. They think we will just give up." Rodriguez almost smiled. "They have no idea who they are dealing with, do they?" In space, Admiral Kethvar was reading the human response to their demand for surrender. The message was polite and asked for a meeting to discuss peace. This confirmed everything he believed about these weak creatures. "They want to talk instead of fight," he laughed. "Ready the scouting forces. We will land in their major cities and show them our power. A small demonstration should make them give up completely." The other alien leaders agreed. The Vorthak commander suggested they be gentle with the humans since they were so fragile. The Methite leader worried they might accidentally kill too many of these weak beings. The Nexari hive mind calculated that human surrender would come within 6 hours of first contact. They had studied human movies and TV shows. They had seen humans run away from monsters. They had watched humans cry and give up when things got hard. They had seen human soldiers break under torture and tell their enemies everything. What they had not understood was that these were stories humans told themselves to explore their fears. What they had not seen was what humans did when their backs were against the wall, and they had no choice but to fight. The aliens had made their plans based on watching humans at their weakest moments. They did not know that humans had spent thousands of years getting stronger through suffering. They did not know that every human alive had ancestors who had survived ice ages, plagues, and endless wars. Most importantly, they did not know that the humans they thought were most broken, the veterans at Rodriguez's center, were actually the most dangerous humans on Earth. As the alien ships moved closer to Earth, both sides prepared for what they thought would happen next. The aliens expected quick victory over a weak enemy. The humans prepared to show these invaders what it really meant to fight for survival. Neither side knew that this war would change how every species in the galaxy thought about the small blue planet and the strange creatures who called it home. The first alien ships landed in New York City just as the morning sun painted the sky orange. Admiral Kethvar had chosen to attack major cities around the world at the same time. He wanted the humans to see they could not hide anywhere. The ships were massive, black metal pyramids that settled onto the streets like mountains. They crushed cars and broke windows with their weight. People ran screaming in all directions. "This is perfect," Kethvar said from his command ship in orbit. "Look how they scatter like insects when we step on their nest." From each landing ship came 50 Zelkari soldiers. They wore heavy armor and carried energy weapons that could punch through steel. Their orders were simple: show overwhelming force, demand surrender, then wait for the humans to give up. What they met instead was the 82nd Airborne Division. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos had been in Afghanistan for 3 tours. She had fought in mountains, deserts, and cities. When the alien ships landed 6 blocks from her unit's position, she did what soldiers do. She got her people ready to fight. "Listen up," she shouted to her squad. "I don't care if these things are from Mars or Mickey Mouse's backyard. They just invaded our city. What do we do to invaders? Kill them, Sergeant," her soldiers shouted back. The first contact happened at Times Square. 20 Zelkari soldiers marched in formation down Broadway, expecting crowds of humans to bow down or run away. Instead, they walked into a kill zone Santos had set up in 15 minutes. The aliens had studied human weapons. They knew about bullets and explosives. Their armor was designed to stop anything humans could throw at them. What they had not expected was how humans used their weapons. Santos had placed her sniper on the roof of a damaged building. When the aliens came into view, he did not shoot at their armor. Instead, he shot at the sensor equipment on their helmets. Suddenly, half the alien squad could not see clearly. At the same moment, Santos triggered the improvised explosives her team had planted in the street. The blast did not kill the aliens, but it knocked them down and damaged their formation. "Now," Santos screamed. Her soldiers attacked from 3 directions at once. They threw grenades under the aliens where their armor was thinner. They used machine guns to keep the aliens from organizing. Most importantly, they moved constantly, never staying in one place long enough for the aliens to target them. Private Johnson, barely 19 years old, ran straight at an alien soldier twice his size. The alien raised his energy weapon, but Johnson had already thrown himself into a roll. He came up behind the alien and jammed a thermite grenade between the armor plates on its back. The explosion killed the alien and wounded Johnson badly. As medics dragged him to safety, he looked up at Santos and said, "Did I get him, Sergeant?" "You got him, soldier," she said. The battle lasted only 12 minutes. When it was over, 15 aliens were dead, and 5 were wounded. The humans had lost 8 soldiers, with 12 wounded. By alien standards, this should have been impossible. The surviving aliens retreated to their ship, carrying their wounded and dead. The squad leader, a veteran of 30 conquests, sent a message back to the fleet that changed everything. Command, this is squad leader Zethmar. The humans. They do not fight like any species we have encountered. They do not retreat when wounded. They do not surrender when outnumbered. Even when bleeding and broken, they continue to attack. I do not understand these creatures. Admiral Kethvar stared at the message in disbelief. Replay the battle recordings, he ordered. The images from the soldiers' helmet cameras showed something that made no sense to Zelkari military thinking. They watched humans charge directly into enemy fire. They saw wounded humans continue fighting instead of seeking medical help. They watched a human soldier blow himself up just to kill one alien. This is wrong, Yixtal said. The data shows they are weak. They should be afraid. Perhaps we need more force, Kethvar decided. Ready the shock legions. But across Earth, something the aliens had not expected was happening. News of the invasion spread quickly, and humans began to react in ways their movies had never shown. At Rodriguez's rehabilitation center, the veterans were watching the news reports. They saw the footage from New York, the alien ships landing in London and Tokyo, the calls for surrender from the alien fleet. Tommy Washington, who had lost both legs and an arm in Syria, stood up from his wheelchair using his robotic limbs. "Colonel," he said, "looks like we are needed again." Rodriguez looked around the room. He saw Maria Santos calling in from New York on video, her face covered with smoke and blood but her eyes still fierce. He saw pilots who thought their flying days were over asking about captured alien aircraft. He saw medics who had saved thousands of lives preparing to do it again. "Gentlemen and ladies," Rodriguez said, "it appears the galaxy has sent us a new enemy. They think we are weak because we have been broken. They think our wounds make us helpless." He smiled, and it was not a kind smile. Time to show them why human veterans are the most dangerous soldiers in the universe. Dr. Chen was in her laboratory, studying the alien wreckage that Marines had brought back from the New York battle. She carefully examined the armor, the weapons, and most importantly, the aliens themselves. "Fascinating," she said to her assistant. "Their bone structure shows no signs of ever being broken and healed. Their muscle tissue has no scar formation. These beings have never really been hurt." She thought about her own body, marked with scars from her military service. Every human soldier she knew carried similar marks, proof that they had been damaged and had healed stronger. "Send this to Rodriguez," she said, uploading her analysis. "Tell him these aliens are like children who have never been in a real fight." As night fell over the war-torn Earth, both sides prepared for what would come next. The aliens called for reinforcements and heavier weapons. They could not understand why their overwhelming technological advantage had not led to instant victory. The humans did what they had always done when faced with a stronger enemy. They adapted, they planned, and they prepared to hit back harder than anyone expected. In cities around the world, retired soldiers were putting on uniforms they thought they would never wear again. Veterans who had been broken by war were discovering that being broken was just the first step in becoming unbreakable. The aliens had made their biggest mistake. They had attacked Earth thinking humans were weak. They were about to learn that humans only get dangerous when they have nothing left to lose. Admiral Kethvar was angry. 3 days had passed since the first landings, and instead of surrender, he was receiving reports of human attacks across 12 worlds. His shock legions, the elite forces that had conquered 40 star systems, were being embarrassed by creatures that should not even be able to hurt them. "Deploy everything," he ordered. "I want overwhelming force on every continent. These humans will learn what happens when they defy the Zelkari Empire." Massive ships filled the sky above Earth's major cities. Energy weapons began bombing military bases and government buildings. The aliens had decided to stop being gentle with what they saw as stubborn children. But while the regular military fought bravely and died heroically, something else was happening that the aliens did not expect. In small towns and forgotten places, old soldiers were answering a different kind of call to duty. Colonel Rodriguez stood in the main hall of his rehabilitation center, looking at faces he had known for years. These were men and women the world had written off. Tommy Washington with his robot legs, Lisa Park with her damaged spine, James Chen, blind from an explosion in Iraq, but still the best communications specialist Rodriguez had ever known. "I won't lie to you," Rodriguez said. "Command thinks we are too broken to fight. The Pentagon does not want us. The regular army says we are more trouble than we are worth." He paused, looking each veteran in the eye. "They are probably right. We are broken. We are damaged. We carry scars that will never heal, and memories that wake us up screaming. But here is what those aliens do not understand about us. Being broken is not the same as being beaten." Sergeant First Class Maya Patel, who had lost her right arm in Afghanistan, raised her remaining hand. "What do you need us to do, Colonel?" Rodriguez smiled. "I need you to do what you do best. I need you to survive impossible situations and win fights that cannot be won. I need you to show these aliens what happens when you threaten humanity's home." The first test of Rodriguez's Broken Arrow Battalion came in Denver, Colorado. The aliens had surrounded the city with 3,000 soldiers and demanded immediate surrender. The mayor was ready to give up to save lives. That was when Tommy Washington rolled his wheelchair up to the city hall. "Sir," he said to the mayor, "with respect, you do not surrender an American city to anybody, while American soldiers are still breathing." Washington had brought 40 veterans with him. They looked like a joke compared to the alien army outside the city. Most of them walked with canes or used wheelchairs. Several were missing limbs. One was completely blind. The aliens saw them coming and laughed. "Look," said the Zelkari field commander to his troops. "The humans are sending us their damaged ones. This proves they have given up all hope." What happened next became legend among human resistance fighters. Washington and his team did not attack the alien army directly. Instead, they disappeared into the ruins of the city, like ghosts. The aliens had advanced sensors and thermal imaging. But these veterans had learned to hide from technology in the mountains of Afghanistan and the deserts of Iraq. For 6 hours, nothing happened. The aliens began to relax, thinking the humans had run away. Then, the attacks began. A sniper's bullet took out the communications array on the command vehicle. Not a kill shot. The aliens had good armor. But suddenly their coordination was broken. The blind veteran, James Chen, had guided the shot using only sound and experience. Explosions began going off throughout the alien formation, but not random explosions. Each one was carefully placed to cause maximum confusion. Supply vehicles lost their wheels. Command posts lost their power. Weapons platforms lost their targeting systems. The aliens tried to respond, but every time they moved toward one attack, another would hit them from a different direction. It was like fighting smoke. Tommy Washington appeared on the roof of a destroyed building, standing on his robot legs. He had a rocket launcher on his shoulder. Ancient human technology that the aliens had not worried about. "Hey," he shouted down at the alien commander. "You want to know the difference between you and us?" He fired the rocket directly into the alien's position. The commander survived thanks to his armor, but the explosion knocked him down and destroyed his command equipment. "You have never had to learn how to fight when everything is broken," Washington called out. "We learned that lesson the hard way." The battle for Denver lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the alien force had retreated to their ships, leaving behind 15% of their equipment and 7% of their soldiers. The humans had taken 12 casualties, none of them fatal. But the real victory was not military. It was psychological. Dr. Chen, monitoring alien communications from her laboratory, noticed something interesting. The aliens were starting to change the way they talked about humans. Instead of calling them weak or fragile, they were using new words: unpredictable, irrational, and most importantly, dangerous. The pattern repeated in cities across Earth. Wherever Rodriguez's veterans appeared, the aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that did not follow any rules they understood. In Chicago, a former Navy SEAL with only one good eye turned the city's subway system into a maze of death traps. In Miami, a Marine who walked with a cane used his knowledge of urban warfare to make every building a fortress. The aliens had superior technology, better armor, and overwhelming numbers. But the humans had something the aliens had never encountered: the ability to turn their own damage into strength. Captain Lisa Park proved this during the defense of Sacramento. She had been shot down over Syria 5 years earlier and spent 3 months with a broken back, crawling through enemy territory to reach safety. The experience had left her partially paralyzed, but it had also taught her things about survival that no flight school could provide. When the aliens attacked the city's airport, Park climbed into a damaged F-22 fighter that engineers said would never fly again. Her paralyzed legs could not work the rudder pedals, but she had rewired the controls to work with her hands. She took off in a plane that should have crashed immediately and began hunting alien aircraft. Her damaged body meant she could not handle high-G maneuvers like other pilots, so she flew differently. She used the city's buildings for cover, flew through smoke and debris, and attacked from angles that healthy pilots would never attempt. In 30 minutes, she shot down 6 alien fighters and damaged 2 more. When her plane finally crashed, she crawled out of the wreckage and immediately began calling in coordinates for artillery strikes on alien positions. "Control," she radioed, blood running down her face. "This is Phoenix. I am down, but not out." Continuing mission on foot, the alien pilots she had faced sent a report back to their fleet that puzzled their commanders. Human pilot demonstrates impossible flight capabilities. Recommend immediate air superiority. Reinforcement. What they did not understand was that Lisa Park flew like someone who had already crashed and survived. She had no fear of falling because falling was something she had already learned to overcome. By the end of the first week of the war, Admiral Kethvar was receiving reports that made no sense. His superior forces were being stalled by what appeared to be the weakest humans on their planet. "These damaged soldiers fight better than their healthy ones," his intelligence officer reported. "They show no fear of death, no concern for injury, and no respect for tactical impossibility." Kethvar looked at the battle recordings again. He watched humans continue fighting with wounds that should have put them in shock. He saw them use their own limitations as weapons against alien forces. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Kethvar began to wonder if the Zelkari Empire had made a terrible mistake. Down on Earth, Rodriguez was training the next group of volunteers. Word had spread through the veteran community that their skills were needed again. Broken soldiers from around the world were making their way to fight an enemy that had no idea what they were walking into. "Remember," Rodriguez told his new recruits, "they think we are weak because we have been hurt. Show them that being hurt is just the first step in learning how to be truly dangerous." Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the alien bodies laid out on the tables in her laboratory. 2 weeks of war had given her plenty of specimens to study, and what she found changed everything she thought she knew about the enemy. "This is impossible," she whispered to her assistant, Dr. Marcus Webb. She pointed to the bone structure of a Zelkari warrior they had recovered from the Denver battle. Under her microscope, the bones looked perfect. Too perfect. "Look at this," she said. "No signs of breaks that healed. No calcium deposits from old injuries. No stress fractures from hard training. These bones have never been broken." Dr. Webb checked her work and gasped. "Sarah, this soldier was over 50 years old according to their biological markers. How does someone live 50 years without ever breaking a bone?" Buan. Chen moved to the muscle tissue samples. Again, she found the same impossible perfection. No scar tissue, no signs of tears and repairs. No evidence that these muscles had ever been pushed beyond their limits and forced to grow back stronger. "Marcus, I think I know why we are winning," she said slowly. "These aliens have never really been hurt." She pulled up genetic scans on her computer. The Zelkari DNA showed signs of genetic engineering going back thousands of years. Same with the other alien species. They had removed pain, suffering, and damage from their evolution. "They made themselves perfect," Chen said. "But they also made themselves weak." She thought about her own body. The scar on her arm from shrapnel in Iraq. The knee that ached from carrying wounded soldiers through rough terrain. The calloused hands from years of medical training under pressure. Every human carried similar marks. Every human alive was descended from ancestors who had survived ice ages, diseases, wars, and disasters. Evolution had made humans tough, through constant pressure. "Get me Colonel Rodriguez," she ordered. "He needs to see this." Rodriguez arrived within the hour, bringing Tommy Washington and Lisa Park with him. Chen showed them her findings. "What does this mean for the war?" Rodriguez asked. "It means they have never learned what we learned," Chen explained. "Every human child falls down and gets back up. Every human athlete pushes their body until it breaks, then lets it heal stronger. Every human soldier learns to keep fighting when wounded." She pulled up brain scans of captured aliens. "Look at this. Their brains have never developed the neural pathways for dealing with serious pain or trauma. When they get hurt, they go into shock. When they face something impossible, they freeze." Park leaned forward in her wheelchair. "Are you saying they have never been through hell?" "Exactly," Chen nodded. "They have technology, numbers, and superior weapons, but they have never been forged by suffering. They are like steel that has never been tempered." Rodriguez smiled grimly. "And we are going to show them what tempered steel can do." The plan that came out of that meeting was insane. It was exactly the kind of impossible mission that the aliens could never understand. Operation Lazarus would involve taking the war directly to the alien command ship in orbit. A team of veterans would infiltrate the flagship, fight through zero gravity, and capture or kill Admiral Kethvar himself. Every military expert said it could not be done. The ship was too well defended. The environment was too hostile. The odds were impossible. Rodriguez looked at his team and saw exactly the right people for an impossible job. "Listen up," he said to the 40 veterans who had volunteered. "Command says this mission is suicide. They are probably right. We will be fighting in space, in the dark, with limited air. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong." He paused, looking at faces marked by old wars and older pain. "But here is what Command does not understand. We have already been to hell. We know how to operate when everything is broken. And most importantly, we know that impossible just means it has not been done yet." The infiltration began at midnight. Using a combination of captured alien technology and human ingenuity, Rodriguez's team reached the flagship without being detected. The first sign that this would not be a normal battle came when the aliens discovered the intruders. Instead of raising an alarm, they tried to flood the section with knockout gas. Sergeant Maria Santos, monitoring the team's vital signs from Earth, watched her readings with amazement. "Colonel, you should all be unconscious by now." "Rodriguez here," came the reply. "Turns out spending years breathing the smoke from burning oil fields builds up a tolerance to most airborne toxins." Continuing mission. The team moved through the ship like a virus through a healthy body. Every defense the aliens had was designed to stop normal enemies, not veterans who had learned to fight in impossible conditions. When the aliens cut the power, the humans used night vision equipment they had trained with for years. When they sealed the corridors, the humans found ways through maintenance shafts and damaged walls. Tommy Washington proved that his robot legs were better than biological ones when he welded himself to the ship's hull and fought in zero gravity for 20 minutes. The aliens had never seen combat in weightlessness. Their perfect bodies had never needed to adapt to such conditions. The breakthrough came when the team reached the ship's main armory. Captain Lisa Park, using skills learned from years of flying damaged aircraft, managed to reprogram the alien weapons to work for human hands. "Phoenix to all teams," she radioed. "I now have control of their weapon systems. Time to show them how we handle superior firepower." What followed was a masterpiece of tactical thinking that no alien military academy could have taught. Instead of using the weapons to destroy the ship, Park turned them against each other. She used the ship's own defenses to create chaos and confusion among the alien crew. The psychological effect was devastating. The aliens found themselves under attack by their own equipment. Nothing in their perfect training had prepared them for this kind of warfare. Admiral Kethvar watched from his command center as his flagship was torn apart from the inside by a force of 40 damaged humans. His perfect soldiers, trained in perfect academies and equipped with perfect weapons, We're being beaten by creatures that should not even be able to survive in space. How? He asked his tactical officer. How are they doing this? The answer came when Colonel Rodriguez appeared on the bridge. The alien guards raised their weapons. But Rodriguez was not alone. Behind him came Tommy Washington, moving on damaged legs that clicked with each step. Lisa Park rolled her wheelchair directly in front of the alien weapons. James Chen, the blind communications expert, calmly began dismantling the ship's systems by touch alone. Admiral, Rodriguez said, his voice carrying the weight of 3 wars and 20 years of military service. You made a mistake when you attacked our world. Kethvar raised his energy weapon. You are outnumbered and outgunned, human. Surrender now, and I will make your death quick. Rodriguez looked at the alien commander with eyes that had seen too much death to be afraid of it. Admiral, that is where you are wrong. You think we are broken. You think our wounds make us weak. But every scar on our bodies is proof that we survived something that should have killed us. Every injury we carry is evidence that we can endure more than you can imagine. He took a step forward, and for the first time in his life, Admiral Kethvar took a step back. You have better technology. You have more soldiers. You have superior weapons. Rodriguez continued. But you have never learned the most important lesson in warfare. What lesson? Kethvar whispered. Rodriguez smiled, and it was the smile of a man who had been through hell and came back stronger. That the only way to truly defeat an enemy is to break them completely, and you cannot break something that has already been broken and healed stronger. The battle for the flagship ended not with explosions or gunfire, but with Admiral Kethvar looking into the eyes of damaged humans and finally understanding what his empire had awakened. These were not weak creatures to be conquered. They were survivors who had learned to turn pain into strength, damage into wisdom, and defeat into victory. For the first time in his perfect life, Admiral Kethvar felt something his species had engineered out of themselves thousands of years ago. He felt fear. Admiral Kethvar stood in the wreckage of his command center, surrounded by humans who should have been impossible. His perfect armor was cracked, his tactical displays were dark, and his supposedly superior technology lay in ruins around him. But the humans who had destroyed his flagship were not even breathing hard. Colonel Rodriguez kept his weapon lowered as he approached the alien commander. Behind him, Tommy Washington checked the alien computer systems with his metal hands, while Lisa Park used her wheelchair to block the only escape route. Admiral, Rodriguez said quietly, we need to talk. Kethvar's forearms trembled as he set down his energy weapon. In 50 years of military service, he had never surrendered to anyone, but looking at these damaged humans, he realized he was not just facing soldiers. He was facing something his species had never encountered. What are you? He whispered. Rodriguez considered the question seriously. We are what happens when a species learns to grow stronger through suffering. Every human you see here has been broken by war, Admiral. But being broken was just the beginning of our story. He gestured to Tommy Washington. Tommy lost 3 limbs in combat. The doctors said he would never walk again. But human engineers built him new legs that are stronger than the ones he was born with. He pointed to Lisa Park. Lisa's spine was damaged when she was shot down behind enemy lines. She crawled 20 miles through hostile territory to reach safety. Now she can fly aircraft that would kill a healthy pilot. Rodriguez touched his own chest, where old scars marked where shrapnel had nearly killed him years ago. I died for 2 minutes on a battlefield in Afghanistan. The medics brought me back. That experience taught me that there are worse things than death, like giving up. Kethvar tried to understand. But your people show fear. We have seen your movies, your stories. You run from danger. You cry when hurt. Yes, Rodriguez nodded. We feel fear. We cry when hurt. We know exactly how much pain we can endure because we have endured it before. That is what makes us dangerous. He stepped closer to the alien commander. Admiral, your species engineered out pain, suffering, and failure. You made yourselves perfect. But you also made yourselves weak. When you face real hardship for the first time, you do not know how to handle it. Through the ship's communications system, reports were coming in from across the fleet. Human resistance had spread to every invaded world. Veteran soldiers were appearing everywhere, turning defensive battles into alien nightmares. The breaking point came when the Zelkari deployed their final weapon, a bioweapon designed to target human genetic weaknesses. The weapon was released over major population centers, intended to end the war in hours. Dr. Chen, working frantically in her laboratory on Earth, watched the bioweapon's effects with growing excitement instead of fear. "Marcus," she called to her assistant, "look at this data. The bioweapon was designed to attack human healing factors, but instead of killing people, it was having an unexpected effect on veterans with old injuries. Their bodies, already adapted to trauma and damage, were processing the weapon like a vaccine. The aliens designed this to hurt healthy humans." Chen realized. "But our veterans are not healthy. They are something better. They are adapted." She sent an urgent message to Rodriguez's team on the alien flagship. "Colonel, the bioweapon is not working as intended. Your people are immune. Repeat. Veteran soldiers are showing immunity to alien biological warfare." Admiral Kethvar received the same reports. His ultimate weapon, designed to end human resistance, had instead created an army of soldiers who could not be stopped by conventional or biological means. "This is impossible," he said, staring at the tactical displays. "Our computers calculated a 98% kill rate." Rodriguez looked at the alien commander with something almost like pity. "Admiral, your computers cannot calculate human stubbornness. They cannot measure what happens when people refuse to die. They cannot understand what it means to survive when survival should be impossible." The final blow came when human reinforcements arrived at the flagship. But these were not regular soldiers. They were civilians, doctors, teachers, mechanics, people who had no military training but had heard about the invasion. They came in damaged ships, wearing improvised armor, carrying weapons they barely knew how to use. They had no business being in space, let alone fighting a superior alien force. They came anyway. "Sir," Kethvar's communication officer reported, "we are detecting over 300 small craft approaching the fleet. They appear to be civilian vessels." Rodriguez smiled. "Admiral, meet the rest of humanity. These are people who have never been soldiers. But they learned something from watching us fight. They learned that sometimes ordinary people have to do extraordinary things." The civilian fleet attacked with no coordination, no tactics, and no hope of victory. They should have been destroyed in minutes. Instead, they fought like their planet was at stake. Because it was. Mechanics rammed their repair ships into alien fighters. Doctors flew medical transports directly into enemy formations, broadcasting surrender demands while firing makeshift weapons. Teachers used school buses converted into combat vehicles, protecting evacuation ships with their own bodies. The aliens had spent months studying human military capabilities. They had prepared for armies, navies, and air forces. They had never prepared for an entire species that refused to accept defeat. Admiral Kethvar watched his superior fleet being overwhelmed by the pure, stubborn courage of creatures he had dismissed as weak. His perfect soldiers were retreating from damaged humans who should not even be able to stand. "I do not understand," he said to Rodriguez. "Why do they fight when they cannot win?" Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment, thinking of all the battles he had fought, all the soldiers he had known, all the impossible victories he had seen. "Because that is what humans do, Admiral. We fight when we cannot win. We stand when we should fall. We get back up when we are knocked down. Not because we are strong, but because we do not know how to give up." He looked out at the battle raging around them. "Your empire has conquered 40 star systems. You have defeated species with better technology than ours. But you have never fought a species that was forged by 10,000 years of constant warfare. You have never faced an enemy that sees impossible odds as just another Tuesday." Kethvar's shoulders sagged as he finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. "We thought you were weak because you break," he said slowly. "And we are strong because we break," Rodriguez finished. "Breaking is just the first step in becoming unbreakable." The withdrawal began 6 hours later. Admiral Kethvar, his fleet reduced by 30%, and his soldiers suffering from something Zelkari doctors had never seen before. Psychological trauma. ordered a full retreat from human space. But before the aliens left, HFY requested one final meeting with Rodriguez. "Colonel," the admiral said, "I must ask. What happens now? Will your people come after us?" Rodriguez considered the question. "Admiral, humans do not start fights. But we finish them. You came to our world, threatened our people, and hurt our families. By all rights, we should hunt you across the galaxy." HFY's alien features showed fear. "But," Rodriguez continued, "we are not conquerors. We are defenders. Leave us alone, and we will leave you alone. Try to hurt us again, and you will discover that what you have seen so far was just us being polite." The alien fleet departed Earth's solar system, carrying with them stories that would change how every species in the galaxy thought about the small blue planet. Dr. Chen published her research on evolutionary pressure and combat effectiveness 6 months later. It became required reading at military academies across a dozen star systems. The paper's conclusion was simple: never fight a species that has learned to be strong through suffering. Rodriguez's Broken Arrow Battalion became the foundation for Earth's new Interstellar Defense Corps. Veterans from every human conflict trained new recruits in a simple philosophy: your scars are not weaknesses. They are proof that you survived. The rehabilitation center was expanded into a full military academy, where damaged soldiers taught healthy ones how to fight when everything goes wrong. The motto carved above the entrance read, "Broken, not beaten." A year after the invasion, Earth received its first diplomatic contact from outside the Zelkari Empire. The message was simple: we understand you have warriors who cannot be broken. We have enemies who need to learn what that means. Would you be interested in an alliance? Rodriguez, now promoted to general and head of human space defense, read the message and smiled. "Looks like the galaxy is starting to understand what humanity brings to the table," he said to Dr. Chen. "What's that?" she asked. "The knowledge that being broken is just the first step in becoming unstoppable." Outside the window, ships were launching from Earth's new orbital defense platforms. Human soldiers, many of them veterans, many of them carrying scars from old wars, were heading out to show the galaxy what happened when you threatened the home of a species that had learned to turn suffering into strength. The universe was about to discover that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their numbers. It was their absolute refusal to give up, no matter how badly they were hurt. The aliens had thought humans were fragile. They were right. Humans broke easily, cried often, and felt fear in every battle. But being fragile had taught humans something that no perfect species could understand: how to put the pieces back together stronger than before. And that lesson was about to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever.